The movie begins with Eddie Deacon, a former Marine Corps captain, who is applying for a job as a security guard in a mall. The hiring manager interviews him and asks about his experience and qualifications for the job. He belonged to the 5th Battalion of the Marines and was deployed 3 times. He is physically fit and is overqualified for the job. The hiring manager then asks anything he doesn't like, but Eddie just says he will do anything for the job, including cleaning toilets. But the hiring manager, after the lengthy interview, says that they don't have any work that fits his qualifications. Eddie then adamantly insists that he really needs the job badly. Even with a minimum wage salary, he needs the job right now. Before leaving, the hiring manager chases after him, telling him that the working conditions are really tough, but if he is willing to comply, then he starts that night. He leaves the place and says he will do the job. Meanwhile, in another place, a police marshal convoy takes their leave. They are transporting a witness girl by the name of Jamie. She is well guarded with 3 cars guarding her to a secure place. Everything is going fine, and the marshals said it will take them a few more hours before they arrive at their place. He makes a call with his associates regarding the mission, but suddenly, the call shuts down. They disregard it, thinking the storm must be messing with the signal. But a few moments later, they see cars following them just closely behind. They try to make a confirmation of the identity of the stalkers, but even their radios don't work. The cars behind set huge flashlights in their direction, illuminating everything. Suddenly, the cars ran into spikes, stopping the car completely. They are ambushed and shot at by unknown people. The marshals try to shoot back, but the enemy is too many and they fall one by one. Before they all get killed, the witness Jamie is instructed to run away. The last man falls to the ground, but the hooded figures count only 9 people. At Eddie's home, he calls his wife and solemnly tells her that he found a job. He assures her wife that he will be back after a while. She and their daughter tell him that they are worried for him. But Eddie says not to worry about anything. He gets ready and goes to the mall to start his first night at work. He is met by Vance, the chief guard supervisor, who orients him about the work. They get to the main headquarters with the cameras to watch over the place. He is also introduced to Mason, another guard whom he will be working with. Another person by the name of Ruby then enters and immediately goes to nap in the bed. Finally, the last person that he gets to know is Johnny, who is at the cafeteria guarding the place. He suits up and gets ready to do the rounds. He also sums up the whole security team that makes up 5 people, with only tasers and zip ties as their weapons. He tells Vance that they lack proper equipment, but Vance assures them they are going to be fine. He is congratulated by Vance and is then tasked to patrol the floor. He walks around just as instructed when the lights flicker on and off. Thankfully, it turns on again and he continues his duty. After getting to the cafeteria, the lights completely go off. He radios his co-workers asking if they have emergency power for the cameras, and they say it is under control. He continues his work, but when he looks outside, he sees Jamie frantically knocking on the door. He informs Vance that he wants to let the scared girl in. As soon as she comes inside, she panics, saying that people are coming after her. Then she faints. They take care of the girl and try to call the police, but there is no signal. They then see a man walking towards the door. He introduces himself as Charlie. He says that he is looking for his daughter Jamie, who came inside the mall. Eddie, sensing something fishy, warns Vance that they are not to be trusted because Jamie was scared when she came. Vance disregards Eddie's warning and trusts Charlie and is about to open the gate when Jamie wakes up screaming. Just then, a hooded man bringing stacks of money came. Charlie offers it all in return for deleting all evidence and forgetting Jamie never existed. Charlie tells them that the choice is either offering the girl and everybody getting rich or not making it rich and dying horribly. Charlie further adds that no one will help them because they have jammed the signal. This overwhelms Vance and he is about to open the door. Eddie then knocks him out cold. Charlie commends him because it turns out that even if Vance gave up Jamie, they would not be left alive. He leaves, and it turns out that he is the leader of the hooded figures. They then prepare to raid the mall. Inside, Eddie calls out to Jamie, asking her to come out and to trust him. A ball rolls out towards him, and when he follows, Jamie suddenly gets behind him with a gun. All she asks is that she gets protection from the men chasing after her. At the lobby, They find out that Jamie is an eyewitness against a powerful gang called the 666 Gang and that she is supposed to show up in court the next day. Johnny says that the enemy might have left, but Eddie rebukes him and says that after going to such lengths, they will never leave empty-handed. They then see the men moving outside. Fearing for Jamie's security, they take her underground to protect her. Jamie tries to argue with Eddie but he ignores her, and he goes back to their headquarters. From the camera, they see the people disabling the cars. Mason is panicking and implores to escape the place, but Eddie warns him that the people coming after them are professional mercenaries. If he wants to live, then they better stay in the building. They may not have the equipment but they have time on their side. The government is looking for Jamie, and until then, they should buy time until rescue comes. And so, they barricade themselves inside the mall and energize the fence using batteries found at the mall. Meanwhile, Charlie signals his men to start the operation. They ran the gate and broke through. Upstairs, the security guards light up a sofa and drop it into the car. From far away, a sniper shoots at them. They are scrambling to safety when an enemy sneaks up to them and attacks Vance. Luckily, Ruby saves Vance. They destroy all electronic devices in the room for fear of cyber hacking by the enemy. They have a meeting and Vance speculates that the enemy might breach them all in about 30 minutes. He assigns them to their positions. Upon finding out that Johnny knows how to make explosives, they get to work on creating the bombs. They lay traps everywhere and do their best to slow down the enemy. Outside, danger looms as dozens of armed men enter the mall. They hack into the cameras and know that Jamie is still inside. Charlie orders the elimination of everyone. Some enemy tries to open a lock but gets electrocuted. Ruby then signals to everyone that the enemies got in. After that, Jamie uses a remote-controlled toy car, which the goons bring to their boss. Written on it is number 47. They then use this channel to connect to the radio of Eddie. Charlie and Eddie talk. Eddie tries to make Charlie give up the chase and let them go because the feds will be on their tail soon. But Charlie declines and tells them to surrender. As a bonus, they will add $100,000 per person in addition to the $1 million. As long as Jamie is given to them. If they don't, everyone will die including their families. While it is happening, the soldiers search through the clothing section. Ruby shoots one of the goons with an arrow but it is not very effective. The enemy locates her and they shoot at her. With no escape, Ruby pretends to be dead. Luckily they fall for her trick and she is spared. In another part of the mall, enemies are also approaching Mason. He quickly uses a stun gun to incapacitate the enemy. Then he uses the gun to shoot the other person. He is visibly shaken at having taken a life, but otherwise, uninjured. Eddie then goes to his position, but it is heavily guarded and they chase after him. Outside a car patrol comes and looks but he leaves after not seeing anything going on. Johnny tries to signal for help, but an enemy sniper shoots dead. He is the first casualty on the side of the security guards. Eddie informs everyone of this and instructs Vance to watch the food court area. Seeing as Mason is near the storage area, Eddie tells him to move or they will find him. Eddie then tells everyone that they must meet again in 3 minutes. While using the toy car to distract the enemy, Eddie uses this chance to engage with 5 guys. He tackles one and uses their weapons against them. But another guy sneaks up behind him and knocks him down to the ground. Fortunately, Eddie finds a gun and uses it to shoot the enemy. Ruby and Vance are together but they get chased by the enemy squad. Meanwhile, Eddie goes to rescue Mason who panics thinking of the enemy, and shoots randomly. They all get together and escape to the other side of the building. Charlie is starting to get angry and orders the gate to be forced open. They get a small relief and take a rest from the danger. However, Ruby is badly injured and laid to sleep. Eddie gives Jamie a stun gun and they talk about life and survival. He relates her life to his own and tells her some life advice. She expresses her thanks to Eddie. But their talk is cut short as Charlie offers them a final chance to give up Jamie. Things are looking grim when Mason sees police cars outside the mall. He is relieved and shouts for everyone's attention. But before they can get their attention, they first remove the signal jamming vehicle outside. The enemies also use a truck to forcibly open the steel gates. Vance heroically faces every one of them. In another scene, Eddie goes outside and sees the police car and orders him to hold his hands up. He tells them about the situation of Jamie. As it's happening, Vance urgently calls for backup. Charlie calmly watches over all of these things. Vance is wounded and Eddie is pinned by the police. He orders Mason to bring back the girl to the police. He covers Mason and Jamie, but in exchange, he is left with all the enemies. Meanwhile, Eddie notices a gang tattoo from the supposed police officers. He radios Jamie about the betrayal, but it's too late for Mason as he is torn to shred by the fake police officers. Jamie quickly runs away as Eddie engages the enemies. Eddie mourns for the diseased Mason, but he does not have a lot of time. He talks to the radio and asks if anyone is still alive. Thankfully, Jamie is still alive. She informs Eddie that Vance might not have survived. He then instructs her to move to a certain place and not let their sacrifice go to waste. He wishes her good luck and tells her they will both live after this. Eddie runs amidst the dead bodies towards the radio jammer. He rides a motorbike and another goon chases after him. At the same time, Charlie tries to make Jamie come out. He wants to negotiate and trick her into coming out. But she is smart and carefully hides away. Eddie, on the other hand, engages with the one chasing after him. Eddie may be experienced in hand-to-hand combat, but the enemy is in peak condition and is even better. It looks like he is about to overwhelm him. He injures Eddie in the leg with a knife. The enemy reaches for the gun while Eddie makes his escape. He uses the motorbike to smash it into the van with the radio jammer. Outside of the mall, Eddie gets shot at by the sniper. After shooting the enemy, he finally defeats the strong man chasing after him. Meanwhile, Jamie reaches the radio and gets connected to the feds. However, Charlie discovers her and immediately shoots in her direction. Amazingly, everyone in this movie seems to miss their shots. Jamie hides again and Charlie tells her that Eddie probably left her already. He tells her that he will let her live only if she doesn't testify. Jamie runs away again and hides. Charlie finally catches her when Eddie comes inside with wounds all over his body. Jamie reaches for the stun gun to distract him, then Eddie shoots. In the final scene, the real police surround the building. Miraculously, Vance is still alive and salutes at Eddie. Eddie wakes in the hospital and Jamie thanks him for everything. He reunites with his family after that horrible night shift.